Important figures 1. Robert Oppenheimer, the destroyer of worlds. The very first and only atomic bombs ever detonated on Earth against civilians resulted in the loss of approximately 200,000 lives in the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These explosions in Japan marked the initial step towards resolving the Pacific conflict of World War II and shaping the modern world. None of this would have occurred without the intervention of Robert Oppenheimer, the U.S. theoretical physicist who spearheaded the plan to develop a bomb before the enemy could do so, under the clandestine program known as the Manhattan Project. In the year 2023, his life and contributions will be portrayed in the film Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan and featuring Cillian Murphy. The physicist's biopic is scheduled to debut on July 20, 2023. Robert Oppenheimer is widely recognized as the father of the atomic bomb. While he did not invent it himself, it was arguably his leadership that inspired the foremost scientists of the first half of the 20th century to work on its development. During that era, the world was undergoing profound transformations, and discussions on civil resistance and philosophical doctrines were prevalent everywhere. Oppenheimer's life and endeavors, much like those of other scientists during that period, were influenced by his country's government and shaped by the global conflicts in which he was both witness and participant. The Manhattan Project was a covert initiative that engaged the finest scientists in the United States, aiming to create the first formidable bomb that would secure victory in World War II. Prior to the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the team at the Manhattan Project, led by Oppenheimer, toiled for 6 years to achieve the unprecedentedly deadly explosion. Among Oppenheimer's team were esteemed individuals like Richard Feynman, Maria Mayer, Niels Bohr, Hans Bethe, Enrico Fermi, Albert Einstein, and John von Neumann. On July 16, 1945, the first successful test of the atomic bomb, named Trinity, was conducted. After the test, he said his most famous words, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
3 weeks later, the country produced Little Boy and Fat Man, which were eventually deployed on the Japanese cities. Oppenheimer earned enduring fame when the nuclear bombs exploded. His accomplishments secured him a peaceful retirement, and he was appointed as the chairman of the General Advisory Committee of the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. After the war, the physicist relinquished his academic career to become a public servant, advocating for international arms control. He transformed from being known as the destroyer of worlds into an unwavering and resolute pacifist. His anti-weapons stance amidst the Cold War crisis between the United States and Russia led to his exile from his privileged position. His own government branded him as a security threat to the nation, and the United States parted ways with the father of the atomic bomb, citing his past pro-communist affiliations. One of his former research colleagues, Edward Teller, testified against him. Robert Oppenheimer withdrew from political life in 1954. In his final years, the physicist taught, wrote, and delivered lectures across Europe and Japan, discussing the role of science in contemporary society. His life was replete with writings and studies about the universe, but his most significant accomplishment was the splitting of the atom. Shortly before his passing, he reconciled with the U.S. government, and he was bestowed with the Enrico Fermi Award for his remarkable contributions to the field of physics. Robert Oppenheimer spent his last days in the U.S. Virgin Islands. He succumbed to throat cancer in 1967. The inhabitants of the islands christened the beach where he resided as Oppenheimer Beach, and the place that was once the abode of the Destroyer of Worlds now serves as a recreational center for all local residents.